so close, you guys. You may notice we've added some decorations here. We've got Thor's hammer, and we've got this cute little portrait or painting that Xavier picked out in New Orleans when we were there. He really liked the skeleton playing the trumpet, and I gotta admit it's pretty cute. So these decorations will be joining our background when we are here, although, you know, our backgrounds are constantly changing at this point because it's really hard to find a quiet room in the school. So, World War II, we in it, we going, we ready, we're fighting. Hitler has turned his back on Stalin and invaded the Soviet Union. He is fighting in France, he is fighting in the Soviet Union, and he is fighting Britain. He's also fighting down in Africa, which we never really talk about, weirdly enough. We should talk about the African campaign more, but this is a US history class, not a world history class, so we don't really deal with that. And then Japan, of course, has declared war on, or the US has declared war on Japan. Hitler has declared war on the US. We are going to war. So we are going to mobilize the troops, and while before we were pushing to stay out of war, this attack on Pearl Harbor builds nationalism so strong in America that we are mobilizing and we are calling men and women to join the military. Yes, you heard right, ladies. You can now join the military. Oosh, high five. You too can be like your favorite man. You can join the Women's Army Corps. You can join the Waves. You can enlist and become a soldier as long as that soldier is a nurse. Or secretary, or maybe a mail carrier. You're not going to be outfitted with a weapon. Don't you even think about going to those front lines, okay, ladies? You are here to do the jobs that ladies are expected to do in your skirts and your uniforms, but the men are still the ones who are fighting. So, you know, ladies, we are getting that equality, but don't you dare try to be as strong as the men. The men are fighting. You're just there to boost their morale, take care of them. You could be a really good nurse. You could be a really good secretary. And maybe you may be trained in mechanics or something like that, but you're not using that training because that's very unladylike. Meanwhile, the women back home are being called to work to take over the jobs that their men have left behind. We need people to work the factories, and the men have signed up and mobilized and gone off to war, so who takes over those jobs? Well, the women are going to go to work. Women, do your part. You leave the home, stop being a mother to your children, and go work in the factories to make the weapons and the military supplies that this country needs. Children, you can join too. You can't go to work, you're a child, but you can go through your neighborhood. You can collect tin, you can collect metal, you can raise funds to help send things that the soldiers need. The soldiers need metal. They need to make weapons and supplies. So you're going to collect your metal scraps, you're going to have scrap drives, and you're going to send that metal in to the government so that they can use it and repurpose it for the women who are at the factories doing the jobs for the men while the men are over there shooting each other in the face. Everybody has their part, and it is your duty to do it. And everybody has to ration their food because food is in short supply. We need to give it to the men. So women, children, plant your victory gardens. Forget produce from the grocery store. Plant your gardens in the backyard. Make yourselves part of society. We need to put strength into our economy. We need to show Hitler and the Japanese that we are united and that we are going to coordinate ourselves in the war effort. So the country really comes together over joining World War II. It's a really uplifting moment for us. Unless you are, you know, not uplifted. So, one of the many changes that we see during the World War II call to arms, besides women, is that we are going to allow African Americans to enlist fully in the military, but they are still segregated. They cannot join white units. And they are, for the most part, still typically left to the same labor tasks that they are expected to do: cooking, cleaning. Just like World War I, they're not really expected to be at the front lines. And if they're going to be at the front lines, they're not at the front lines in a desegregated unit. They are in the front lines in their own black units. And many black units exist. The Tuskegee Airmen is probably the most famous. They are a group of African-American fighter pilots who are the best fighter pilots of World War II. They are trained in Tuskegee, Alabama. They fly all of their missions with an almost 100% success rate. And they also have the least amount of casualties of any unit, white or black. So they are an amazing group of fighters, but they are not allowed to fight with the white men. They have to be their own segregated unit. They have to be their separate African American unit. African American women are also allowed to join the military, but again, they are segregated from the white women. And most of the African American women are probably not going to be sent overseas. They might be sent to more local areas to do more training or help other groups or to do tasks like cleaning and cooking. And then if they are sent overseas, one of the most famous battalions of that is the 688 Battalion, which is an African American female unit who is sent overseas to Great Britain, not to help fight, not to nurse, not to do anything except sort the mail. And that sounds very easy and very basic, and you're like, that's kind of like, so like, okay, but we're not just talking like a week's worth of mail. These women have to sort through mail that has been piling up in storehouses in Great Britain for years. And they have to figure out who the mail goes to, where it's coming from, all of this stuff. And a lot of the addresses are handwritten and they're no longer really noticeable. So it's a very arduous task, and they're supposed to do it within a certain time frame, or they're going to be sent back to the United States to be as proof that they're not valuable to the war effort. So they actually do end up completing their task. It's very amazing. There is a movie about it called The 688. You should definitely watch it. We will probably watch it in June, but you should definitely watch it before then. And if you're not in my class, you should watch it because you're not in my class. We also have two other groups of minorities in World War II who are allowed to serve in the military. We have Native American code talkers, who are groups of Native Americans who joined the U.S. military, and they are asked to use their native language to help decode and encode messages for the United States and the Pacific. Now, because of the way the U.S. treated the natives, most native languages are almost dead. They do not have a lot of speakers left. And many of the native languages do not have a written alphabet. So it's very rare to find somebody who can understand this language. And so we conscript or enlist groups of Native Americans who speak their native language to send messages across the Pacific to different bases, to different military camps, because the only people who can understand them are the people who speak that language. You can't write this down. There's nothing to write. There is no written decoding for this language. And the Axis powers are never able to break the codes that the natives are using. Most people talk about this as the Navajo, but there are other groups who are also part of the code talkers experience. The Navajo are the most common, most well-known, but there are many other groups as well. But there is a Navajo-based movie about the Wind Talkers. I haven't seen it in a very long time. It's from the 90s, maybe early 2000s. I don't remember if it's any good, but you can look it up. And then finally we have the Japanese unit. Now, this is a very particular unit because the Japanese Americans have been incarcerated by the US government, and it is very rare that you're going to get a Japanese American soldier in World War II. But there is one unit for the Japanese American citizens who have grew up here, born here, grew up here, and enlisted in the United States military. I believe it's the 443rd, although I always get that wrong, so we can just fact check that. Please do, because I know I may be wrong on that number. It is a group of second generation Japanese Americans, the Nisei. I don't know if I'm saying that right, I think so. They are the only, if you are Japanese, you can only join that unit because most Japanese Americans are detained and incarcerated in camps throughout the United States. So you have to be very specific to this unit, and you cannot join a different unit if you are Japanese. So the minority experience during World War II sees some progress, but definitely sees progress from World War I, but there's still a lot of stagnation there. And the African American experience, especially after World War II, is really going to lean on this so they can move forward with their rights.